say also kind of being a producer, like, is almost like being a project manager, like you're the one that's in charge of every element for your project and your piece. So in any instance where you're producing something, you're always communicating with like a number of other people just to get everything done for your piece. So a lot of like event planning and floral planning is kind of related to that, because you're looking at all the aspects, you're looking at the financials, you're looking at like the client customer service base, you're looking at the design and how you want it conceptually to look.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the West Coast Initiative. I'm your host, Alex Castillo, and your co-host, Thiago Castillo. And here with another exciting episode for you guys. And then our guest today is Annisa Jones, who is a producer at Fox Sports, and she's also the owner of Soul Blossoms, which is a flower company. And she tells us her journey, from at a young age, going and pursuing actually to be a plastic surgeon, and realized that that's not the life she wanted, and decided to go on the media career. As she went in, she also realized her passion in doing flowers and decorating flowers as well, that she decided to start her own business. So it's a really cool one, very inspiring one. She's a great, hardworking, ethic person. I don't even know if I said that right, but without further ado, let the talk begin. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the West Coast Initiative. I'm your host, Alex Castillo, here with another great episode for you guys, an exciting one. I'm so happy to have my next guest, Annisa Jones, who is the owner of Soul Blossom. She's also located in LA, Black-owned business. She also works for Fox Sports, doing it big, traveling. She's even gone to the World Cup, and I'm like jealous of her for making that accomplishment. Man, I've been waiting for years since I've been born to go.
I know.
How you
so
been,
lucky.
Annisa?
So
How you
lucky.
doing?
Good. How are you? Thanks
Good.
for having me.
Good. I'm excited. And for people who don't know, me and Annisa go way back. We're friends from way back in high school. Kind of exciting to have like back-to-back SCPA people, alumni, because and it's something that I've always kind of said. SCPA breed is definitely a different type of breed, and I've seen definitely success in all sorts of forms. So I'm excited to share yours. It's been a while since we talked. Fortunately, the last time we saw each other was due to unfortunate circumstances. But of course, our dear friend Matt is always here, always watching us. I'm sure he's excited right now to see you on the show and all that. He would have been raving right next to me. But, but anyways, so how's work? How's the life going on right now that COVID's kind of like not away, but going back to a little bit to normality?
Yeah, I think in the floral industry, everything is really booming right now because people had to put off so many events and everything that they kind of had planned. Mm-hmm. So now that things are starting to open up and people are allowed to get back together, they're like, let's do it. Let's go hard. Like, we want to do everything that we can, like brands, shoots, weddings, all of that. So it's really good. I think for the floral industry, it's a lot for florists and people who are in event planning, just because it's like there's demand is so high right now. Yeah. But I think it's also really cool because like this is my first year in business. And so the timing has really worked out well because there's such a big need that like new florists can still find opportunities and different events to put on and things like that, because there's so many people who need help and need to get it done. And there's only so many florists available.
And I'm probably going to go to you when we're going to get married, me and Betty. Yeah, of course.
Let's do it.
You're the only option for us, of course.
Yes, I'd love to.
And speaking of that, I know you said you're doing this for a year now, but about a year ago, it was during the big time in the COVID times. How was that? How was that time? How was like the hit of the COVID for you on the business side? Because I know, when you start a business, there's a lot of, let's say, like there's a lot of insecurities because you don't know how it's going to pan out, or if it's going to be like something like a hit. You kind of like, it's kind of you're rolling the dice, honestly, especially during the COVID. So how was that that time for you?
Honestly, I kind of was sparked by COVID. Like I didn't have the business fully before COVID started. I still, excuse me, was just working at Fox Sports and like really occupied with that. And honestly, I was getting really burnt out and you know, like many people, I think feeling unappreciated at your job and just feeling like you're kind of giving too much of yourself and not getting enough back and just trying to find that like work-life balance.
Mhm.
That was a really big struggle for me. And so when the pandemic happened, it was like this first chance to really slow down, like so many people
Mm.
say, you know, and like take time for yourself and think about what you really want and what kind of makes you happy and what's the most meaningful to you. And although I've gotten to do so many amazing things at work and, you know, I have a lot of really cool experiences that I wouldn't trade, there's a lot of it that people don't see that's really hard. And so I used to like just like arranging flowers for myself, like just going to the store, you know, and like being like, oh, these are so cute. Like, let me just
Oh,
try to
wow.
do something for fun. And then like for my mom, I would try to arrange flowers, like if it was her birthday or something like that.
Has this
And
always been like you all throughout your life, or
I
like this is like a
really,
hobby that you kind
yeah,
of picked up the last few years?
I think the older I got, the more I got into like actually arranging. I've always loved like flowers in nature and I've always been super like happy and just like at peace when I'm around it, but I never like thought of it and like coming kind of from, you know, a home that like we had to be really realistic and like about your goals. And I always thought about the money aspect of jobs when I was like thinking of a career and what I wanted to do because I really wanted that financial stability. So for me, becoming a florist or like even in high school, I danced, but like becoming a dancer to
Which,
me
by
was
the way, you were a great dancer. You're
thank
like you were one
you.
of the most amazing dancers in our class, I swear.
Thank you. But like stuff like that to me just wasn't realistic. Like it
Mm.
wasn't, you know what I mean? Like that was like a dreamer job. It wasn't
Yeah.
like something that would pan out and, you know, for someone like me or me, or whatever.
And nothing's
Um,
wrong with anybody who's doing that. It's just that that's how
yeah,
you were just kind of like you were raised in that form. Like you were like, you need
exactly.
that. And I was kind of the same way coming out of SCPA too. Like, I didn't think I could continue my art form,
Yeah,
and I was kind of confused of what I wanted to do in college, because
for sure.
I was so much in art involved in it and whatnot. And it's
Yeah,
just like I didn't know I didn't know. I just thought in college you had to find a career that makes you money. You know what I mean? That's a
exactly.
I was kind of like the set program that my parents kind of laid foundation to me too. But I found cooking. Cooking was like a different passion, hidden passion I didn't know I had. Mm.
Exactly. And so that's kind of how it's happened for me too. It's like I was just doing those little things for myself or for the people that I love. And I was getting a lot of joy out of it, but I never still thought of that as like a career path.
Mm.
And then during the pandemic, my boyfriend actually was like, you're always so happy when you do flowers. Why don't you literally just try that? Like, just try to start your own business. Like, what does it matter? It's the pandemic. Like, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. You still have your real job, you know? And I was like, okay, maybe I should. And so
There you go.
I just like started researching a lot about the business and about florals themselves because there's so many different types and so much to learn when it comes to that business and that industry. So it was a lot of like behind the scenes, me just deep diving and like trying to get a grip of what the floral world even was and
Mm.
how it operated. And I really started by one, just practicing with flowers on my own for fun, and two, reaching out to a lot of other local florists in LA and just trying to get like people that I saw that I felt like were successful or were doing things in a manner that I felt was cool, and you know their approach was really nice and their style was cool. So I reached out to people like that and just asked for advice and tips and many questions, and you know asked for opportunities. Like if any time comes up that you need help, please let me know. I'd love to like get some hands-on experience.
Oh yeah.
So I did a lot of that, and then that was kind of all during
Like you
pandemic.
did like apprenticeship? Like, is that what you meant?
not necessarily an apprenticeship, but a lot of florists will hire like freelancers for
Mm,
events or for like a project that they're working on, just because you can't do it all yourself with your own two
yeah.
hands. So like a
Yeah,
lot
I
of
mean,
people,
I bet because there's a lot of fire decorations that I've seen, and I'm like, wow, that must have taken hours.
yeah, well, just like when it's a big event and there's 14 tables, it's like there's just no way that I'm gonna finish that all on my
Mm,
own in time, you know. So opportunities like that where other floors were doing things and I could jump in and assist them and learn techniques and tricks from them, and also just learn like how they're running their business and what's successful for them. Obviously people don't want to tell you everything,
yeah,
but you got to learn to pick up the little things and just kind of keep your
yeah,
eyes up.
they're good things, of course, you know.
Yeah, just absorb what you can. So I did a lot of that during the pandemic, honestly. And then when it started getting safe,
Excuse me, sorry.
opening up a little bit, you're good. Then the flower market started opening and people were like putting in orders just in the floral world itself. So that's like when things started to open up a little bit, that's kind of when I started putting myself out there socially
Mm.
so that people could get to know like what I like to do and my work and could see things so that they would want to order things. um, so I just started on Instagram like when things started opening back up. Really in March is like when I launched what I was doing, and just tried to learn as much as I could about the business, made a website, like all of those wild things, applied for your federal ID number, the
Yeah,
tax info. It's
it's
crazy, but
it's a, it's a big headache. I'm not gonna lie, like now that I've done that all that before in the past. Now it's kind of like
yeah,
people don't know. Like, all right, so like for the listeners, of course, and you can relate with me on this. You think that it's just like, for instance, you, right? You probably thought it's just all flowers at the beginning, just flowers, flowers, flowers. But there's like so much on
oh
the
my
other
God,
side. You're not just the flower girl, you're the marketing person, you are the auditor of your own business, you are the,
everything.
you are everything. You're the negotiator.
Yes, yes.
So
You are your financial
yes,
person, everything, like the
yes.
books, the records, all of it.
And you're just keeping track, and you possibly have a little notebook that you're just keeping track of every little thing, keeping all the receipts, for the end of the year, because that end of the year
Exactly.
taxes, it's a struggle. Trust me. And but it's cool. I'm glad that you did that, because not a lot of people do that, the researching part, right? Because
Yeah.
one thing that when Matt was still with me, uh I emphasized, and he emphasized, that I talked about a lot was resources.
Yeah.
We talk, you know, before you get into a business, you want to find as many resources, as much studying as you can, to make the path easier for
Yeah.
yourself, really.
Exactly.
Because like you said, you started your Instagram a little bit after, or way after you started all your research, seeing how you're going to go in the path, and you're now kind of like have that confidence going into it now. You get a few orders here, a few orders there, and that's when you start picking that momentum.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool that you brought that out, because not a lot of people put that thought into it. They kind of like
Yeah.
think about it, and then they see so much that's going on, and then they kind of give up, because
Yeah.
they start thinking that it's too much to handle, you
Yeah.
know. So it's
And
cool. Yeah, it's cool that you did that, all that.
thank you. Yeah, honestly, I think it came from the fear of like not wanting to fall flat on my face or like just truly embarrass myself. I was like, please let me get some tips before I start like trying to do this for real. So yeah, that was my biggest goal. And then obviously like finances, you don't want to go in and just, toss your money at it when you have no idea how to
Mhm.
run anything or how to,
And,
create any
and
revenue.
I've
So
had those problems where I've like tossed
yeah,
money into acts, like, thinking like, oh, this is gonna be a good thing. Like, for
yeah.
instance, website. When I first did Monkey Meals a while back, the meal prep business, I started a website, Wix. I remember it was the Wix.com.
Yes. Oh my God.
And I paid and everything. It was such a, like, I didn't know what I was doing. Like, I was
Yeah.
just throwing my money away, basically, thinking that I was doing it right. But my problem at that time was I did the research already, prior to that, all that other stuff that
Yeah.
I wanted to get to the next level. So I didn't research my stuff on the internet, like how
For
to maintain
sure.
a website, and that's
Yeah.
like another ordeal. You see, that's another thing. You gotta
Yeah.
be your own web designer for your business.
Literally. You are digital, you are in person, you are everything on the
Yeah.
phone.
So it's like you're not only researching just flowers, you're researching how to do a website, you're researching how to do
Yeah.
all this stuff, and it's just it can add up. And if you're not prepared, like if you sound very prepared, honestly, before you went into it, which is like great to hear. Of course, there's gonna be like
Yeah,
mistakes here
yeah,
and
yeah,
there,
yeah.
but it's good to hear because, like I said, not a lot of people think that way. Before
Yeah.
they get into it, they kind of jump into it and kind of like stop, right? And same thing with the podcast. Like I researched everything. Like I was like, what's the cheapest, best route to get a microphone? I got this one.
Yeah.
I researched that. And what's the best camera? I got the Logitech. Just
Right.
little things here and there. That can help
Yeah.
me financially, and
Mm-hmm.
like even how to pick the best questions, or even
Yeah.
listening to other podcasts too. It's helped me too, like how they say their questions, how they kind of share their stories, how they relate with their guests. Like I try to pick
Yeah.
up all that too. So it's good to hear that as well from you, because it sounds very similar. How's
Yeah.
I kind of started this too. That's cool.
I love it. I love it.
So let's go a little bit on your backstory, just so people know where you kind of come from and whatnot. I know we went to San Diego, of course, in SCPA, but are you from San Diego, born and raised?
Yeah, I was born and raised my whole time till graduating. And then when I went to college, I went to Riverside
Mm-hmm.
and we were there for 4 years. And then I moved straight to LA after that. So
Mm.
I didn't come back.
And what did you graduate at UC? Yeah, no, you didn't never came back. You really did never came back. You're like, I'm done, San Diego.
No.
And
Um,
what did you graduate at UCR? Because I know Riverside, for anybody who doesn't know.
yeah, so part of my backstory, funny actually, was I went to UC Riverside because I really wanted to be a plastic surgeon leaving high school.
Really?
When we graduated, yes, I wanted to be a plastic
Is
surgeon
this
so
what
bad
your
because of the money thing,
is this
like I
what
was
your
telling
parents
you.
told you? You got to get
No,
into plastic surgery. That's where the
no,
money's
it,
at.
we're loving it. They were like, oh my God, I'm going to be the best looking 60-year-old ever.
No.
Parents were like, yes, she's gonna hook us up. Like it's gonna be the best. Like everyone was so disappointed when I changed my mind.
No
But
way.
yes. But so I went to Riverside because they had a good bio program, but they were also building a medical school. So it's going to be a really good feeder program for their medical
Mm,
school. And so that's why I went there. And then halfway through, I think, yeah, like second year, I decided that I don't like school enough to stay in it for like 7 years.
oh, was that
And
was that the path?
well,
7 year
yeah,
path?
I think undergraduate was going to take me at least 4 to 5 years. And then grad school is another four. No, grad school's two. Then you have to do specialization school for like which category you want to go to in
Mm,
plastic surgery. And then that's another 2 years. And then you do your medical residency, which is 4 years.
oh
So
wow.
it was like, by the time I was
Yeah.
doing this,
We wouldn't be having this podcast though.
we would not. I would still be deep in the books right now. Yeah. And I just like the lifestyle that I imagined for myself at that age. At the time was just like I want to have the freedom to, which is funny now because my job has like no freedom, but I wanted to have the freedom to like be able to have a family or like have time for that kind of stuff when I start getting into closer to these years, you know what I mean? Like the 30s and that time frame. And every kind of plastic surgeon woman that I had either spoken to or heard from, um, they were feeling really torn, between both. It
Mm,
was like they had achieved what they wanted to career wise, but they couldn't really find a balance. And that I think scared me. And so the combination of that and the schooling, I was like, maybe we should think about something else.
mm.
So I started thinking about media outlets and possibly doing that. And I wanted to do on-air talent originally and like either do like sideline interview reporting or in studio hosting. And so I switched my major to media and cultural studies, and I started getting internships in LA within media.
If you don't mind me asking, did you do any media at SCPA?
Media at SCPA.
Like,
Funny enough, I don't remember what that teacher's name was, but she was an eighth grade teacher, or no, seventh. I think she was a seventh grade teacher. And like so many of us had her. I don't know why I remember this random project, but do you ever remember we had to like cut out this black tape and make like this taped artwork with like all these black lines? And it was almost like shadow artwork, but I don't know why. It was her
oh,
class was
I
the
kind
only
of
one we
remember when
did
you
it
said
in.
shadow right now. When you said shadow, I kind of remember,
Well,
like
her,
low
whoever
key.
she was, her class, we had to do like a fake news report one time. And me and like Rosie did it and got so into it. But really, that was like the only thing besides I did yearbook, which is kind of like print media, but not really. Not
So this
really.
is like your first time really jumping into the media world.
Yeah. And I was
And did
like,
you
oh, well, I've done theater. So like,
like
it
did
can't
you
be
know
that
which
big.
like did you didn't know what to expect then going into the changing your major?
Yeah, I didn't know what to expect, but it was kind of the same thing where like I was just trying to get internships and like find experience and find people
Mm.
that I could talk to. Um, yeah. And then I got into an internship that was doing like reality TV
Mm.
projects. And so then that's when I kind of started shifting gears. And I was like, maybe I don't want to be like on TV. Maybe I want to do like behind the scenes. And then that all started developing. And then eventually graduated. And a year later, got a full time job at Fox.
So what do you do behind the scenes? Like for instance, in that internship when you were there, the first internship.
When I was at the first internship, it was a lot of us researching possible pitches, like ideas for upcoming reality shows, and learning how to like draft what they call one sheets, which is kind of like short form of an explanation with all the necessary details of what the show would be and who would be in it, all that kind of stuff. And we would conduct like Skype interviews with people that we thought would be potential good cast members.
Oh, so
And
you'd be also part of like casting too?
we were doing a lot. We were actually kind of running this guy's office. Low-key,
Really?
it was pretty illegal, but like we
And
were
now it's
learning.
high key on now. It's on the internet.
Nameless, not to be named.
No, just
um,
joking.
but yeah, well, it was also before and I don't remember what the case was called, but it was also before that big wave when people started really looking into internships and like whether people were getting paid for them or not and whether that
Mm,
was fair labor. So he got very much in the lucky zone. Like he doesn't have it now, he doesn't do it now because technically I think it would be illegal. But
mm.
we learned so
But
much.
just and how he treated the internships or interns, I mean,
No,
or
just like we weren't paid interns. we
mm,
we would just give our time and he would like train us basically on how Hollywood worked and how the business worked.
okay,
And so it was much more of like a hands-on experience. And then you could report it to your school. You didn't necessarily get school credit, but like as part of your resume. And
yeah, it just looks
yeah,
good.
so yeah, I did that. And then eventually one of my friends from there got a job at Fox Sports. And then that's how I kind of got my foot in the door there.
Oh wow, and when you started working at Fox Sports, what primarily were you starting to do there?
When I started in the marketing department. So like their team makes all the Fox Sports commercials and all like the promotional material for any of their upcoming live events, or if they're like branding a new show, then they'll like do shoots to promote that and all of that kind of stuff. So that job, I was a production assistant, and I would either help organize and coordinate their shoots, or I would help like them work with outside vendors because a lot of times they'll send like their graphic work or some of their like post production work to outside houses just because
Yeah.
we don't have quite as many of the people that they might need to get all of our projects done. So a lot of that was coordinating and then finding the right footage for these commercials. helping those vendors, helping put on the shoots. If they had big meetings with brands, helping them get like their packets together and everything prepped for those type of things. So yeah, I did that for like a year and a half. And then
that sounds a lot.
and then I moved to what they call like the production side of Fox Sports, which is where they do the live shows, the studio shows, and then they do the games too. And I don't have any involvement with the actual game, but I work on all the shows, so like the pregame show, the halftime show, the postgame show. That's what we work on. And now I've just kind of gone up the ranks with that. So now I'm officially a producer on the show. But
wow. Look at you producing. Oh man, now I know a producer in Fox.
yes, come by anytime.
And so then now that you're a producer, what's your job entitled as now?
So yeah, every week I have to like come up with ideas for our weekly show and just pitch those to like our executive producer. They don't always.
Which show are you in charge of? Sorry.
So I just switched. I've been doing Fox NFL Sunday, the one with like Terry Bradshaw, Michael Strahan, Howie Long, Kurt Menefee, those guys. I've been working on that one. And then I just switched to the earlier show, which is like Carissa Thompson, it's Charles Woodson, Mike Vick, those guys. So we just like come up with ideas for the show. And then if your idea gets picked, or even if it doesn't get picked, there's always going to be like enough pieces that need to go in the show that you're going to have to produce. So like week 1, I did the show open, which like kicks off our show and starts it off. And we did a really big shoot with Dion Cole. He's a comedian. And that was a lot of work. And then week 2, I did like a Joe Burrow feature where he sat down with one of our talent and they just had, like the 2-way talk back between like an interview and a player.
Yeah.
So I just made the piece for that. And then so like every week you just make something new. So just making something new as part of the show. And that can involve, creating the idea. It can involve writing the script, or if it's an interview, then writing up the questions and just coordinating with whoever you're going to shoot with and their talent managers and PR people. Like coming up with the look of everything. So even if I don't have a shoot, but I have, we have these things called music videos. So like if they want to start up a topic on the show, they want to introduce it with like a footage package, right? So like that footage package is yours to do with not whatever you want, but like that's your creative space. You can make it look however you want. You can put whatever graphics on it. You can pick the shots that you want in it. You can pick like the audio that you want in it. So like which calls, what are they saying? How are they, really conveying the story of what you want to be told? So it's just like all of that. So at the end of the week, like you sit in an edit bay usually, and you have an editor, yourself, and then you have a production assistant, and you guys will basically just like go through the motions of putting this piece together. And if there's anything you need like on the fly or whatever, your production assistant will just kind of help you out and like pull more shots for you, or pull more sound for you if you need it. Like if something's not like going exactly as you want, because it's very much like you'll assume that you want this, that, and this, but then sometimes when you go to put it together, it's like, maybe we need this instead, So it's kind of just like a little trio. Usually we'll sit in there, crank it out, and then Sunday it airs on TV. So
yeah, that's really cool. Actually, that's all really cool.
Thank you.
Getting to know the whole background. Like, yeah, you gotta talk to the editor. I got my assistant. I was like, yeah, you were like, and I got someone running my coffee. 2 sugars, all black. No. How is it? I'm assuming you deal with the stars too of the show. How is it dealing with the stars? Because I mean, I don't want to sound like naive or anything about it, but I'm assuming they would have like some sort of ego, or like a diva type of form to, like, how do you communicate with these like because like again, like I said, people are so different in the work
Yeah.
environment. You got some introverts, you got some extroverts. Like, how do you deal with all these people around you with those challenges? You know?
Yeah, I don't have to do like a day to day with the talent, which is good, but I have had jobs between both shows, like because you have a Sunday assignment also. So like when it's live show day and game day, you have like a totally different space that you're sitting and like a totally different job that you're doing that
Mm,
day compared to the rest of the week. And so like in the past, I've had Sunday jobs where like you're working directly with talent. Like I used to give Terry Bradshaw all of his highlight papers for halftime. So like whenever he's reading all the highlights and stuff, it was my job to give him all that information, make sure
mm,
that the scores were all up to date, that he was reading names correctly, like all of that. So it honestly just depends on their personality. Like for the most part, they're pretty nice for the most part, but I think there's definitely a mentality that's been taught at Fox that's more like stay away from the talent if you don't need to be near them.
mm,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
And it's more of like don't bother them if you don't need to be talking to them, don't bother them kind of thing.
Okay.
And they're pretty nice, honestly. Like they'll if they see me in the hallway now, even though I don't interact with them, they'll be like, "Hey, girl," you know what I mean? Like they're sweet. They're sweet.
That's cool.
But they definitely can have their demands.
So like now that I'm hearing how busy your job is, how now that like COVID's kind of helped you get back to work and whatnot, how are you balancing all that out now? How are you balance work and your business too? Because I know that's a lot of challenges for a lot of people out there who has a
Yeah.
business, right? They still have a full-time job, but they're still trying to continue the dream of creating this business to basically, sole provide for them, and just
Yeah.
kind of leave their full-time job already.
100%. Yeah, so it's something that I'm totally learning in this process still and developing. And I'm really trying to figure that out right now, balance. There have been many times where I have not been good at it and I like pull all-nighters for floral events because I'm like, I just don't have any other time. So like we're gonna make this happen even if I'm not sleeping. Like it's gonna go down. um so I think our busiest season is definitely NFL, and that is kind of our like grind time. That sounds so lame, but like it literally is like the time when you really have to buckle down and focus, and like
Mm,
it kind of consumes all your time because we work from Tuesday to Sunday, and technically Monday is our off day, but usually we're not
yeah, no,
off, you know?
I know what you mean.
Like, yeah. So during so to explain better at Fox Sports, we rotate through sports, our group. So when NFL season is over, our group has to do NASCAR, which is kind of odd, but like whatever, we do it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind NASCAR. I love Formula One. I prefer Formula One because I
Yeah,
do watch Formula One.
yeah.
NASCAR is interesting for sure. Because I don't know, I'm just not a big fan of the loop part.
Oh my God. It's like, how many times can you turn left?
I know.
Right?
At least
No.
Formula One has different curves. So it's like
Yeah.
it's a little bit better to watch for me. But continue when you're on NASCAR.
No, so yeah, we do NASCAR, and then after that, we used to do golf, but they just got rid of that. So this summer we had like summer of soccer where we had CONCACAF and we had Gold Cup.
Mm,
And then what else did we have after that? After that, we just like basically started up things for NFL season. Like we did the Hall of Fame game, and then we have this big NFL seminar that happens before every season. So just kind of crap was coming up, you know what I mean? And it became a lot busier of a summer than I anticipated work
so
wise.
so when you're doing like the studio, is it all based in LA? Like for instance, I'm assuming, of course, NFL season, right? But the Gold Cup, CONCACAF was like, it was kind of touring a little bit. Do you
Yeah.
travel to the different locations, or is it all based out of that studio in LA?
For the most part, it's based out of the studio. Like the crew that actually does the game itself who like, you know, picks the angles for the game and runs the cameras and does the graphics. That crew, for the most part, usually goes to the event, but the studio show is usually happening from LA because that's where they'll film it on the lot. Um, so for the most part, I don't have to travel for that, but NFL does usually have 2 to 3 specialty shows that they do every season. It's like we'll always do a Veterans Day show where we have to travel, not have to, we get to travel.
Yeah, it's a blessing.
Yes,
Remember,
it's a
Annisa, not
blessing.
many people could travel with. I wish
No,
my
so
kitchen can travel. Okay.
right, I know. But we usually do that. Sometimes they'll travel for like another game, just like that's one of their bigger games that season. And then they always do NFC Championship. And then if we have Super Bowl that year, we'll go to Super Bowl. So those 3 are usually pretty guaranteed to travel. But now that I am a producer, there's a lot more chance for them to kind of like ship me off to go shoot things. So like they might say, okay, this week we're gonna get the chance to talk to Dalvin Cook. Okay, get out there, go fly, meet him at the stadium, you know, do the interview, come back the next day or whatever. So there's a lot of that that might happen this season. But I just haven't had to do that yet. So it's an exciting opportunity that I'm looking forward to. But sorry, back to balancing.
And that's okay.
I totally went off track.
We go off tangents sometimes, and I let it go. That's fun, you know.
Yeah.
I'm getting to learn like what you get to do. It's so cool, like everything that you're doing. So
Thanks.
yeah, you can go off anytime.
Okay, cool. No, yeah, but so my point was like during NASCAR and those other seasons, usually there's like a little bit more free time. Like you have more of a regular schedule of someone who works like a 9 to 5 or close to that, you know? And so during spring and, you know, early summer, it was a lot easier for me to take on jobs or to book, you know, floral arrangements and orders and that kind of thing, because I just had a little bit more time to give. Now that it's like, even in August, I did a small wedding and I did another event or 2, and for those I took time off. Like I requested days off because I knew far enough in advance for the wedding and things that it was kind of fair game, because usually for NFL season it's like a no, like you don't request time off during NFL season.
Yeah, it's like blackout.
Yeah, it's like, no, we're doing this, you're in, buckle up, like let's go. That's how it is. So
I mean, I don't doubt it. That it's a billion-dollar industry. You know, like it's. I'm assuming they demand a lot.
Yeah, and there's so much that goes into it that like I would have had no idea about before I got into everything. That's just like you need so many people and so much time to be able to accomplish what they do with those broadcasts. Yeah, so I'm trying really hard now, but I've kind of, I don't want to say shut down the floral business for now because I haven't. I've been like picking up little things because I can't seem to like fully want to say no.
You're taking a little break from now just because of the whole NFL season. Damn NFL.
I know. But it's just like I also don't want to be performing really poorly in both areas. You know what I mean? And that's what I feel like it would ultimately end up being. Is that
I don't think so, because you're very driven. I feel like you're very, very driven, especially from hearing you this last like 40 minutes or so. You know, just like how driven you've been in your career, and just it is astonishing. And too that that kind of like you're in the, it's great. I didn't know you want to do plastic surgery. You went from plastic surgery to multimedia, and now you're going to flowers. It's kind of like,
I know,
it's a connection.
I know. There isn't. It's just Annisa trying to find herself, honestly.
But I mean, there's got to be some connection, right? Like, what have you able to use, or what have you learned from being at Fox Sports that you were able to apply to your business?
That's really true. I think really big things that are like easy to say are like being well organized and like just efficiently having computer skills, like being able to use Excel sheets and like knowing how to semi use a computer well enough to like start up a website. those little things like are super helpful. But I think even more so would be like time management and like figuring
Mm.
out, okay, what's most important? What do I need to do now? What can I wait? And that kind of stuff. Um, and I would say also kind of being a producer, like is almost like being a project manager, like you're the one that's in charge of every element for your project and your piece. So in any instance where you're producing something, you're always communicating with like a number of other people just to get everything done for your piece. So a lot of like event planning and floral planning is kind of related to that because you're looking at all the aspects,
Mm.
you're looking at the financials, you're looking at like the client customer service base, you're looking at the design and how you want it conceptually to look. You're working out a schedule and planning everything so that the elements come out on time and everything, has a flow and you get it done when you need to. So a lot of those things really transfer well. And I think like having to talk to people and work with a lot of different kinds of people at Fox
Mhm.
has also translated because I think you just like learn how to speak to people and how to try to positively get things done, especially like attitudes. I would say like learning how to deal with people's attitudes, like, oh, you learn that so much at Fox. And then, if you go to into the flower industry, like people can have bad days all the time, or like you go to the flower market and people piss them off that day and they're pissed and you're just like, okay, well, we're just gonna chill. Like I just please need so you just know you gotta like know how to navigate those situations. And I think those skills have definitely translated and kind of prepped me for this floral business so far.
So when I used to be in the bakery and we used to do like weddings and whatnot for like
Yeah.
cakes and stuff, of course there would be like the bridezillas, you know.
Yes.
Um, I mean, I'm sure you've dealt with it too. Like, how have you dealt with like difficult clients? There's because there's also issues in business like that where you're gonna have difficult clients. You got
Yeah.
the Karens, that are just like complaining that they want everything
Yes.
specifically, and I'm assuming in flower business, they're pretty fragile. Like you have to
Yeah.
maintain, I'm assuming that you got to maintain them certain temperature, certain humidity, how do you deal with like clients like that who are so nitpicky?
Yeah, I think I've gotten semi lucky. Like I feel like I've dodged the bad bullets. Like
Mm.
when people reach out to you, you kind of get a feel of like their personality or what they're looking for, or like how demanding they're going to be just by what they say off top, you know what I mean? Um, and so there's been certain people who like you can tell they don't really want you to use your creativity and your design. They just want you to be able to execute a look, which
Mm.
is it can be fine, but like that's definitely not a florist's dream,
Yeah.
like you want to be able to elevate what someone has in their mind and like be able to kind of put your own touch and creative skill on it rather than just like mimicking what someone else did. You know what I mean? It kind of
No,
just
I get
like
what you
takes the
mean.
heart out of it. um so yeah, I would say those situations where like people have asked for things like that can be kind of lame, but like I've gone through situations where like I don't end up doing it for whatever reason, whether it was like budget or just timing and availability. Like there's been a lot of things like that where like, oh, I'm just not available for this job that seems like crap, like things like that where
Like I didn't want to do it anyways.
yeah, I kind of got unlucky. But yeah, the other people that I've worked with, a lot of people have been either some type of extension of like friends, family, somebody that knows somebody that So a lot of people I think don't come with too harsh of attitudes and stuff.
Mm,
Um,
not yet.
yeah, I know. I was like, I don't really have a super bridezilla or like crazy event person yet. Like everybody has been, for the most part, pretty happy. I had one person in the very beginning who tried to complain about stuff, which was lame because she was gifted an arrangement.
Mm.
So it was like I gave her this arrangement that was paid for by somebody else, but it was
Oh,
somebody that I knew and was very close to. So when she wasn't happy, like, of course, I wanted to correct that. And like, just for the reputation of my business, I always want my client to be happy. So it's just when she said that there was an issue with the flowers, she then like requested very specific flowers. And I was like, okay, so this isn't like a real problem. This is just like you
that's
like and somebody didn't know that. And so now you want those kind. So
well, that's what happens when you move to LA. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
I was just like, okay, well, this time we can let this happen, but we got to come up with a policy that, you can't just be
Yeah.
exchanging, swapping out flowers.
And then that's stuff that you learn on
Yeah.
a daily, like, oh wow, like how do I deal with this scenario now? Like how can I improve that in the future? Like maybe you know, have a selection of flowers of
Yeah.
like these are those selections that we have, if you don't, kick rocks basically.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. I
uh
had a really good learning experience one time where I it's because even photographing your flowers is like a whole process of like kind of wrapping your head around because you think like,
but
oh,
you do a really good job. I
thank
think
you.
they're really nice looking on in your Instagram. And
Thank
anybody who's
you.
listening, go follow Soul Blossom right now on IG,
Yes.
especially if you're listening on Spotify and iTunes. You go right now. You can still listen to
Yes.
us.
Check it
Go
out.
follow. But continue
um
with the pictures.
But no, like, yeah, you think, oh, okay, they're cute. Like, I'll just point and shoot. But flowers are weird. Like, they don't look the same straight on in a camera the way that they do in person. So, like, trying to give people the same experience that you get when you actually see them in person is tricky. And so I like have been hunting for little spots around my apartment complex that like have good lighting and like can have a good background and all that kind of stuff. And this one day I put them on the ledge in my garage because there's a cool, like, just concrete wall behind it. And this freaking gust of wind came, and there were like long branches. This huge gust of wind came, knocked it over. The whole thing shattered
Oh
an
no.
hour before I was supposed to deliver these flowers. And I was like, I started freaking out. I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I had to tell myself, I was like, okay, think, don't panic, just think, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? And then I realized, I was like, you bought an extra of this exact same vase. Like, you have one in the house. Like, try to just pick up these flowers,
Mm.
see what's like, you can still reuse. And then we have a few extra we can plop in back in the apartment. And I was like, let me just carefully carry this and try to get it back. And I literally just like propped it into a new vase, took out all the ones that had been like hurt by the fall and like just replaced a couple.
Not
And
this
I was
one.
like, oh, thank you, Jesus, that I
Oh
had
my
the
God.
same vase, an extra one. And I was like, I know now. One, don't put them on ledges and let them sit there with the wind. Two, always have backups
Yeah, I was gonna say they always
anytime.
have a backup.
Oh my God, my heart that day.
So what has been like one of the most complex things that you notice in your business, like the complexity of it, like, oh wow, like for instance, purveyors, like is it hard for you to get flowers? Is that a difficult thing to do? Is it a difficult thing to get the flowers to stay at a room temperature or cool temperature? Like what's the complexities that you've noticed in the flower business?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot. Like, I would say for me personally, just learning the business side in itself was really tricky, and I still don't know half of probably what I need to know. But like learning the tax forms and learning how to get your business even established with the government, and figuring out all those things that like I would have no clue about because I haven't taken any business classes. Those sides of the things were really complex, and part of that would definitely be pricing florals. Like, in
Mm,
order to make a revenue, it's really hard because, well, it's not really hard, but you really have to have a formula and you have to do a lot of planning in order to make sure that you're going to come out making some type of revenue with every project. And it's tricky, especially right now, because what's going on with like the climate and just the world in general, there's like a big flower shortage.
Oh,
So
wow.
although you see a lot of flowers, the flowers that come are a lot more expensive now because they don't have the same amounts and they don't have, the same product to keep replacing all the time. So the flower prices are a lot more expensive right now than they normally are. And so when people ask for, I would say another part of pricing is also just like your client's mindset and perception. Like say if you were to buy some flowers for your wife, you probably would want to spend, I'm just going to guess, the average person wants to spend like 45, $50.
Mhm.
And that is kind of,
Babe, if you're listening, I spent 100.
get it. I love that. But like it's true. I mean, even 45 to $50, some people look at that and they're like, oh my God, I don't want to spend that on flowers. Like what? And that's totally fair. Like it's a lot of money. $50 is a lot of money. But when you think about it, like the process of putting together this arrangement, right? So like first off, if I want to make an arrangement that looks really good, I need like 5 to 6 to 10 different varieties of flowers to really get the mix and like make it look as beautiful as I want to make it,
Oh,
as
wow.
full and like, and also the types of flowers. Like, yeah, sure, I could go and put you together a $40 arrangement, but the flowers that you're going to get in that arrangement are going to be like closer to your market flowers, your grocery store flowers, because those flowers are cheaper. But
Mm.
if you're paying more, then I can give you obviously better and more. And people also don't consider like, so say I have to buy 6 different types of varieties of flowers. So that means I have to buy 6 bunches because you can't just buy the flowers by
Yeah,
stems. You have to buy them in
by the
bunches.
bunches.
So if I'm buying 6 different bunches for one arrangement, that's likely going to cost me $100 in itself.
Oh,
And so
wow.
like already we're already at $100. That's not even including my time. It's not including the vase that you want and the supplies that it's taking me to put together your arrangement. It's also not covering like, you know, I don't have a studio space, so I just do it from home. So I like run the AC all the time. But like it's not covering any of those things. So people just really have a mindset for flowers that like it's $100, like I should be getting so much, and it's like, yeah, but you have to think about like what goes into it.
Mhm.
And especially for things like events, like I'm not just going to the market looking for flowers for 2 hours, getting them, going home, processing them, like taking off all the leaves, cleaning them, cutting them, putting them in water. That takes like 4 to 5 hours, and then arranging it itself takes another couple hours. Like nobody thinks about that, and like all the time that it takes you to put things together. And with events, you're doing even more than that because you have to do all the prepping and planning beforehand of like ordering flowers, because when you want big amounts, you can't just go and hope that they have it. Like you have to pre-order that, which means you
Mm.
have to decide exactly what you want in every arrangement, so you know exactly how many flowers you need for everything, like a whole event. So it's just a lot that goes into it that people don't think about. And so it's hard because you don't want to charge a ton for flowers. Like I understand, I don't want to get a bill and it says $150 for flowers. Like I would feel like that's crazy, but sometimes it's what it costs. And like, so I think that part is tough, because you want to give people the best, you want to make them feel super happy, but you have to kind of find a way to explain to them what it costs, or you have to find a way to give them some version of what they want at the price that they can afford.
That
So
makes more sense because, like, I've noticed some flowers are pricey. Like, flowers are
yeah,
very, very pricey, arrangement flowers. And now it makes way more sense of why it's expensive, like the time and effort that people put into them. Yeah. Now,
yeah,
now I'm seeing definitely why. Uh,
yeah. And
sorry.
there's like a lot of random supplies too. Like I have, a small stock of vases that I just keep on hand so that if somebody requests something kind of last minute, I have something that
Mm.
I can make. So like those things, and then all the tools, like all my snippers and branch cutters and knives and like the tape and the chicken wire that I use, like all of that stuff. And when I put together an arrangement and I deliver it, I have delivery boxes, I have delivery paper that goes inside of it. It's just like, you know what I mean? There's all
Yeah.
these little things that people don't think about. And it's like, you want it to be this beautiful presentation with like a cute box and paper and a little card and like the beautiful flowers and a beautiful vase.
Like, you gotta pay for
Money,
it.
please, like, don't look at me. I don't know. It just
No,
gets tough.
I get what you mean, because it's like I mean, it's like that with a lot, you know, even in the food restaurant and
Yeah,
like industry, where like people are like, really, this is how much this, you know,
I
especially at a fine
know.
dining
Yeah,
place, right? Like
right.
small portions, like I'm paying this much for that.
Yeah,
Well, it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
you know, how many hours we fucking worked on that? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
And it's like
it's
all
that
the
similarity.
flavor that goes into this. It's like, you're not getting this anywhere. Yeah.
It's like, what do you think we're doing over there? Just McDonald's stuff?
Exactly. Exactly. Like, you're paying for my professional expertise here is what you're
Mm,
getting, you know?
yeah. And I get what you mean. And it's, you know, I don't know if it's happened to you, but it's definitely happened to me where, you know, where people, you know, who you've in the past, and they kind of like they see as a friend,
Oh,
there's a
yes.
homie discount. You know what I mean? Like, dude, like I'm trying to survive. I can't just give out break
Yeah,
evens, you know?
I know. I know. Oh my gosh, I know. Even with family, it's hard because like you'll feel bad. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
I don't want to charge you all this money, but like,
It's like
please,
you,
I don't want to pay for this myself.
I'm like, you ain't my mama. You didn't give me birth.
Exactly.
I'll be like,
Um,
remember when you took my stickers away? I say back. I'm getting full price.
oh my God. Yeah, true. Honestly, I think for me, it's been interesting because like when I first started and I was practicing and really just wanted like kind of content for my Instagram. And so like I wanted to get pictures before I was going to start the Instagram so that I had stuff, you know, to put up and didn't need to be like, oh my God, I need to make something so I can post something, kind of that. But yeah, sorry.
No, you're good. It's okay.
um so in the very beginning, I was reaching out to like my close friends and I was like, look, if you can give me 40 bucks for flowers, I'll hook you up with like a really good arrangement. I just want the practice. And like, I don't want to be paying, you know, 80 bucks every week just to practice for myself. Like, if I can, obviously, like you'll get gorgeous flowers, I'll get practice. It'll be for
Mm,
the lowest price you're going to find for this
yeah.
arrangement, you know? So I did a little bit of that in the beginning. And then I think they really liked it, but like, I don't know,
Got stuck on that deal.
people at our age just like aren't buying flowers like that. You know what I mean? Like they're not buying weekly flowers for their home or like always gifting someone an arrangement every month. So I think the demand at our age is a little bit lower. And so I haven't gotten like a ton of friend requests, or if they are, it's usually like for something specific, like Mother's Day or like an occasion where they're kind of willing to spend money. You know what I mean? Because not just like everyday flowers. So I've been lucky in that area that like usually it's for a special occasion that someone is kind of down to spend a little bit of money
Mm,
for, or it's been clients that like come through the network of Fox, like other producers that I've worked for in the past that are like, oh, I'm, you know, somewhat successful and my wife is gonna do something and I want to get her flowers, then they can kind of afford them, you know. So it hasn't been too bad with
you're
like
over there hustling that Fox. Like, I got your flowers, 40 bucks, girl.
a little bit, but
That's good though. I mean,
even that though honestly has been tough because like you were saying, they didn't even necessarily ask for a discount, but like you feel like, okay, you're one of my clients that's like in the first 6 months and like you're also my coworker, so like I don't want to overcharge you and like charge you what I really probably would charge an outside client.
you know what I
But
used to do when like I had meal preps, you know, especially like to all like my loyal ones at the time.
yeah,
Um, you know, I'd be like, you know, order me 5 meals. You know, 6th one is probably like, you know, $5 cheaper. Or I would be like, you know, you guys who have been kind of loyal, share it out. You get one meal free. You know,
oh nice, yeah,
yeah, you get one meal free from. But I mean, they still pay for the other four. I mean, still,
yeah, yeah,
they're still, you know, I'm still making money. But as long
no,
as like they're
100%.
sharing out, because like the thing about social media presence, like, yeah, we put stuff on social media, we can hashtag as much as we want, but how many people are really looking for that hashtag?
I
How many people
know.
are really like looking for flowers or pips? But when you start, when you get your peers to actually start sharing, or an incentive
Yeah.
to start sharing, like for instance, you could be like a $5 off deal on flowers, on this day, just you got to share it. Then you share, your friends are sharing to other people that are not connected to you. They're like, oh my
Yeah.
God, I need some flowers, and that's how you kind of get word of mouth too, but
Yeah.
it's in a way like I kind of learned that when I was listening to a lot of Gary V. I don't know, you know who he is, Gary
Mm.
Vaynerchuk. He's always like to give out like free stuff, in a way, free content. So that way you kind of
Okay.
get back, like
Yeah.
even if it's a $5 off, you're still giving out those,
Right.
basically those $5. But
Right.
you're still getting people attracted to you, like, oh, like $5 off of a $40 flower. All right, 35. That doesn't sound that bad after all, Now you're getting
Yeah.
traction, you're getting more people coming in viewing your social media presence. That's how I did it, and I got quite a good
Turn on.
results. Yeah, results
Yeah.
from it. Sorry, my English and my Spanish
No,
sometimes.
you're
It's
good. That's more than what I said. So
so
yeah.
but it's how I kind of helped with that part, trying to get my voice out, especially because I honestly, it's weird. Like, no offense to any of my friends out there, I love them all, but the most business I've noticed that I got more was definitely outside of your
Right.
group of friends. Because
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, like with your group of friends, it's like, yeah, we're supporting you, but I'm not gonna give you my money yet.
I know. I know.
It's weird how that sense, but like when
Yeah.
people don't know you, they're like, all right, let me trust you, kind of thing.
Right.
But it's better, I feel like, to get people who don't know you to kind
Yeah.
of get to see your brand than people who like really are close to you and try to, like, not scheme you off, but like try to get a good deal, or just
Discount. Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
But I also learned to also even have my, your dear friends. So like, hey guys, like, hey, can you guys share this? Even though it's a weird
Yeah.
to ask, like, share this, share that. That's why I like sharing your posts, because like I felt weird when I had
Thank
to ask people
you.
out. Like, hey,
Yeah.
can you share this? Can you share that? Like, can you help me get out my name and stuff like that? So whenever I see like people who are trying to show their business like yours, I'm always trying to help in some sort of way, to try to share it.
Thank you.
And it's cool that you're doing this, that you're kicking ass and everything that you've done so far, even in the flower business. I did have a question on that part though, on the flowers. I wanted to ask earlier. So in food, right? In California primarily, it's an all season, right? All California is very all
Yeah.
season. Is that the same with the flower business? Like for instance, with us, we can kind of get all foods at the same, like anytime in
Any
summer, yeah,
season.
any
Yeah.
season, you get any food. Is that the same thing with flowers? Just like, of course, prices fluctuate because of
Yeah.
water, right? But is that the same thing with flowers? Like you get any flower any time of the season?
No, I mean, in California, we're definitely luckier than a lot of other regions because of, our climate and the temperature. And then we have a lot of really good like resources and, they can just fly in flowers from all over the world. So we have a wide range and there's a lot that's available to us. And I would say definitely more than other areas, but some flowers just don't grow in some seasons and so
Mm,
you just can't get those. Or even if you are you'll see a lot of like price fluctuation. So like if it's peony season, you can get peonies for like 12 to $15 a bunch. But if it's not peony season and like someone has found a way to grow them like a month after they were supposed to be done,
mm,
and that bunch can go up to like $35-$40. And you're
mm.
like, wait a minute, I was just paying 15 for this. What happened? But that's what happens. And so even like with the wedding that I just did, my bride really wanted peonies, but peonies don't bloom in the summer. And so I found someone who could get them, but their condition was different than what it would have been if they were in season. Like they
Mm.
still looked beautiful, but they would have looked 10 times more beautiful.
No, I get what you mean because
You
that's
know
the
what I
same
mean?
with
Yeah.
food. Like when food is not in season, like I said, food we can get here any time of the year. But
Yeah.
like if like citrus, if it's not during the citrus season, it tastes different. It tastes a lot
Yes.
different to what it
Yes.
is, you know. And so I can see why you would say if it's not the season, it's not gonna bloom the same way.
Yeah, it's like it's just not recommended because then it's going to cost you way more too. So like she paid a lot more for her flowers than she would have if she would have just had her wedding in spring. You know, if she was really married to that flower
Mhm.
and didn't want to spend a ton of money on it, that would have been the move to get
And it's
married in spring.
is that something that you always tell the clients too? Like you let them know ahead of time, like these are the flowers that are in season, the best flowers to use at this time. Do you do that for the clients?
Yeah, so usually like part of my planning process is like putting together not necessarily like a pitch, but almost like a mood board
Mm,
of like what flowers, based on what they've told me they're looking for, what flowers I think would be the best for their event. And like, so I'll put together a page of like different flowers and show them. And, you know, we can go back and forth and talk about what they like, what they don't like in it. And then if they, you know, have a flower that they had in mind that they want to suggest, they can do that. But if it's a flower that's not in season, then that's when I kind of have the conversation of like, okay, look, we can definitely try and get that. But one, it's probably going to cost you a lot more. And two, we might not be able to get as much of it as we would want, you know?
mm,
So you have to like kind of give them that realistic picture of like, look, I will do everything I can to get you exactly what you want, but I want you to know this is not their time to like be fully blooming. So we just kind of have to be prepared for what may happen.
mm. Okay, I see what you mean. So it's because I can definitely see like that, and that's what I mean about the bridezillas. Like
Yeah.
you said, you know, the lady who wanted what
She's
was the flowers
really
called?
attached. It was a peony.
Peony. Who
Yeah.
wanted a peony? And I'm assuming like in the future when you get other clients, it's going to be a little bit more trickier on that aspect, right? Because they want.
Yeah.
Because I remember Patty, if you listen to this, sorry, but I forgot what flower she loves, but she would love like she would tell me
Yeah.
flowers, you know, that she's ready to
Yeah.
move. But you know, sometimes when you are planning a wedding, you're planning a wedding in a different season that you want, you know, and then it's not gonna go with that.
Hmm.
How do you also like deal with like the temperature gauges on that too? For instance, this summer was hot, right?
Yeah.
How do you maintain these flowers before the event, and how like what's the challenges in there?
So, a lot of florists have like a studio space or like, you know, just a place, like maybe a separate room in their house that they use, or like a lot of people do it out of their garage. But because I'm just new to this, I haven't gotten a studio space yet. I just don't feel like it's the time to invest yet,
Mhm.
you know? Like when I'm more full on, then I will definitely do it because you can use the space. But so for now, I've just been putting my apartment through it. And every time that I bring home a quantity of flowers, I usually will turn like the apartment AC on to like 62 degrees. So I
Oh
just
wow.
bundle up,
Wow, you're
bundle
very cold.
like, yeah, bundle up, and I'll keep it like that. While I like process the flowers and like clean all the leaves, cut them, put them in fresh water. But as soon as I do that, then I have found our bathroom here is like pretty good size. And so I found a way to get a portable air conditioner because instead of
Mm,
buying a whole fridge and throwing it in my apartment, um, I put a portable air conditioner and because the room's small but completely closed off, it makes it super cold. And so
mm.
I'll stack them in there and like safely keep them on the side
Look
and
at
they
you
just
being
like
innovative. Look at
they,
you.
they just stay cold. And then that way I don't have to run like the whole apartment's AC and we don't have to freeze all day. But usually when I bring them home, I'll try to keep them cold because they really change. Like when you take them and you cut them and you let them kind of hydrate for a couple hours, they look so much better than what they did when you first picked them up.
What's a tip to keep the flowers, you know, blooming like for
Yeah.
longevity?
The best thing to do, honestly, is change the water. And that's the one thing that people usually don't want to do because you just don't think about it. Like you get flowers and you're like, oh, they're pretty. Like they'll sit here until they die. But really, you should be changing your flower water every other day or every 2 days. And
Mm,
every time that you change it, you should be putting at least a quarter of flower food packet in with your water. And then if you have like a clear glass that you're putting the flowers in, that like you're going to see through and see the stems and stuff, it's really good to put like 1 to 2 drops of bleach in the water because
bleach.
yeah, just one
Wow.
to two. Don't go crazy.
Oh.
I was
I
like,
need to I need to set a gallon.
no, but if you put 1 to 2 drops, it actually helps the flowers like keep the level of bacteria low. So the
Mm,
water will get like cloudy and murky slower because the
mm,
bleach kind of clears out that stuff for as long as it can hold it off. So like if you're
wow.
changing the water and you're putting a drop of bleach, it's gonna look beautiful and it should last for a while. The other
Wow.
thing to do is if you get flowers, don't leave the leaves on in the water because the leaves are where all the bacteria comes from. So like whatever part of the flower stem you're putting in water, make sure that there's no leaves on it because
Wow.
that's how they die the fastest.
This is a game changer for me
Yeah,
because every single time I buy flowers for Patty, they die like 2 to 3 days later.
yeah.
That's why I
Change
was
that water.
change that water, put a gallon of bleach in there. Oh man.
Patty's gonna be calling me like, "What did you tell him to
What?
do? Flowers have lost all their color."
No,
They're
why? I know. He's bleaching the flower head. I don't know what you told him.
just going crazy.
No, but
Oh,
that's actually a really good tip. I did not know any of that. For I'm
yeah.
pretty sure you gave a lot of the listeners a really good tip right now for sure on that. But I was like, oh wow, sounds like a
Nice.
grandma tip, like mijo.
I know, right?
With the bleach in
Oh
there.
my gosh, sneaky little tricks. Yeah.
And so when you do your like events, do you have a team? Like, do you have your little, do you have your boyfriend slaving away?
So yeah,
I
honestly,
said tighter.
yeah, honestly, lately, I've done as much of it by myself as I can. Like I said, those all-nighters, those are all learning, curves of like I probably should have hired somebody and I did not. But for 2 different wedding setups, I've used my brothers and my boyfriend as like my
Yeah.
muscle. And I'll usually either pay them an hourly wage or I'll just like treat them to dinners and lunches and stuff like that. But with my next project that I have, which is going to be a pretty big wedding in March, I'm definitely going to need a team for that. So,
Hey, anybody out there who's looking for a
yeah, let
job.
me know. Available in March. I need a hand.
That's good. I'm glad that you have a wedding in March. Then way
Thank
well
you.
far ahead planned already.
Oh my God. Yeah, these things are intense. Weddings are like a whole nother level of event planning
Do
for
you
these
like
people.
do you like doing weddings though, or is there certain events that you prefer to do?
Yeah, I think so far I've liked them. I haven't done a ton, but the ones that I've done, I feel like have all been kind of special to me. Like the people are either really kind or, they're just good people, and so I've liked working with them. And I like the ideas of weddings, and they can be very lucrative. They can be. But I think in the future, my goal would be more towards like events rather than weddings. So like
Mm,
say it's a client party where like a brand is going to have a big dinner event and they want their tables lined with flowers, like things like that, or like brand activations where they're going to do a big sponsored event and they want to have flowers and like this big cool creation. Just
yeah.
because I think sometimes like even creatively that's where you get a little bit more freedom to like do bigger kind of wild, a little bit more out there things that you wouldn't see every day, where weddings for the most part can tend to be a little bit not monotonous because everybody wants something different, but like you're doing table arrangements, you're doing arch flowers, you're doing bridal bouquets, you know, just so it kind of is just like different things. And I think if I could pick what I would want to do, it would definitely be like brand events, brand activations, brand kits when they like want to promote something and they send out, you know, promotional packages and sometimes there's flowers in them. Definitely production shoots where they actually, you know, whether it's music videos or films or just television shows where they have, you know, tons of flower arrangements in them. Like I would love to tap more into that world. Um, just because the wedding thing is so personal and so, I don't know, it's different. Like I like
It's like
it.
it's not your ideas.
Yeah. And I
Okay.
like it, but I don't know if I would want that to be my only thing because there's so many people that are just wedding florists, you know, that I kind of want to do beyond that.
Mm, okay. I get you mean. I mean,
Yeah.
like it's kind of like Jeff Bezos. He didn't want to sell just books on Amazon. He wanted to
Yeah.
do a lot more, you know,
Yeah.
expand out to different events. No, that's cool. That's really cool that you're expanding your mind just not to one demographic. You know what I'm saying? Like it's cool that you're doing wedding events, you know, even personal ones, arrangements
Hmm.
and stuff. You know, and you're still gonna continue growing. And I'm glad to see your growth. I can't wait to see your growth from a year from now too, you
Thank
know,
you.
2 5 years from now, you know, and you're not slaving away at Fox like
Oh my God. Fingers crossed.
because I'm pretty sure this it's like when you're doing your flower arrangements, it's therapeutic for yourself, you
Yeah.
know, and I can see you smiling away, just shipping like, oh, I love this.
Oh my God. I actually thought of you recently when I was like, I saw this meme and it was about florists and it was like, if you see me talking to myself, don't say anything.
Oh my god.
It was like, I'm having a production meeting, okay? I am the event planner. I'm I'm talking to my team here, okay? And I was like, oh my God, I need to show this to Alex.
Oh my god. I remember this is an inside joke from a long time ago. I saw Anissa talk. I don't know if you were talking to yourself or to a duck.
I
You were
don't know.
I was like, you okay, Anissa?
You were talking to yourself?
You need
What's
someone to
going
talk
on?
to. I was like, one of the weirdest ones I ever caught you talking to yourself.
Like, it's okay, Anissa.
And it's funny because
Friends,
I was
you,
gonna mention that earlier, but I didn't want to burn you out. But you mentioned it.
yes, no shame, no shame.
Shoot, my mic's over here falling right now for all the laughter. But anyways, now we get to the end of the part of the show. But uh we usually ask this question to everybody, like what's a message that you want to give out to people who are maybe looking into not necessarily into the flower business but wants to start their business, or you know, doesn't know how to, you know, get things started.
Yeah.
What's a message that you want to get across out there for people, anybody that's like, you know, struggling in that aspect?
Yeah. I know it sounds kind of cliche, but once you do it, I think you realize why people say this all the time, but literally just going for it, like putting yourself out there and actually taking the actions and the steps to make something happen rather than, you know, fixating on it in your mind and like stressing about it and worrying about kind of the pre-planning and how you're going to make it happen. Like just go. Like, you know, don't, if it's a financial situation, obviously don't just jump all your money into it when you don't know
Yeah.
anything, but like take steps that make sense to start whatever you want to do.
Mhm.
And that will lead you to so many more places than you thought just by taking those first few steps, like reaching out, asking people for help, for resources. You know, and it shouldn't always be like, what can you give me in terms of like knowledge and stuff. Like you need to, you know, offer something as well. So like if you can offer a helping hand, but while you're there you can learn and pick up so many tricks,
Yes.
then that's something for you. And like they're going to benefit by you giving your time and help, but you're going to benefit by learning, by being hands on. So I think any of those experiences that you can have, or and as many opportunities as you can find that makes sense for what you want to do, I say take it, because every opportunity is going to be such a big learning lesson. Like, and you might even learn things that are negative, you know, you could have negative
Mm.
experiences, but you're still going to learn what you do and don't want to do moving forward, and like learn how you don't want to handle things, or how you don't want to be treated, or all those types of things. Like you're always going to learn when you take those opportunities and chances. So I would say take as many of those as you can, get as many insights from people who are doing well, who are succeeding, who seem to really have a business mindset about it, not just a passion for it. That's my biggest advice.
No, and that's good. I mean, no, it's really, you hit on a lot of really good points there, especially we kind of mentioned it earlier in the show, the experience part, like how you've been able to implement your experience from Fox to your business, and how even doing internships, like you said, people kind of want, but don't like to give, maybe give a little bit, like take everything like as a learning lesson. Like when I first started in the kitchen, like I was a grunt, but I learned everything, and implied everything of what not to do. I've had my fuck ups, I've had my bad days, and I'm still gonna have the bad days, and you need them too. And that's something like a lot of people, I feel like when they have a bad day, they kind of just give up, a lot of times they just give up. But use those, even the experience from those bad days, like how did you pick yourself up the next day? It's like people
use it for growth.
Use it for growth, exactly. And that's really good that you mentioned that. Another thing that you hit earlier that I forgot to mention too, it's and I reiterate a lot about this, it's like, when we see the flowers, like when we see a product, it's an illusion in a way, because we don't see the hard work that gets put in between the time. People just see the flowers like, oh, that looks so nice, but like, like kind of like you said, they don't know the effort, the passion that's been put in, the work that's been put in, the research that's been put into everything. It kind of like all goes into one thing. And people who started a business and whatnot gotta also realize that too. Like people are not gonna appreciate all that, but you gotta still grind it through and try to make it work. And that's why I'm here, guys, to share y'all story, because I know y'all be grinding.
Yes, keep going.
And it's fun to hear all these stories. Like I say, it's a cool thing to get a different perspective. I didn't know anything about flowers, till today. And even about your multimedia job, like the details of what you told me, like the hours that you put in there, and even talking to Ravion 2 weeks ago, like what she's been through, what she has been able to accomplish as well as a single mom, just different perspectives, different ideas. Like I use all those experience too, of like stories, and kind of use it on my own like headspace, like mentality as well. Like if Ravion can do it, if Annisa can do it, if all these people can do that I've interviewed and whatnot, like I can fucking do it,
and you've already done it. Sorry, keep whacking.
No, you're good.
You've already done it. Like you guys have at least 2 businesses, don't you?
Right now I only have the janitorial business.
Okay.
So the podcast is just kind of like a hobby at the moment, which I do in the future want to make revenue out of it, and that's something that, like you
but
said,
you're building on.
Building on. Like I didn't do at the beginning, I did my research on how to do a podcast, and then I realized that people do make money out of this. And now it's like, how do I do that? Like, how am I able to support this without even having to put my own money into it? You know what I'm saying? And even the janitorial business that we have I didn't know anything about it before. Because my dad used to, it was my dad's before I took over when he got sick. I didn't know how to run it. He told me like the basics of how you run it. And then I applied some of the stuff I've learned in, the corporate side, from where I worked at Viejas, of even in the kitchen, like how to stay organized, how to maintain, like you said, the tax forms, the receipts, like how to stay in that type of mode, and balancing the workload from business to now family to my other work, so even to the podcast, like it's a lot. Even I was supposed to be done with the editing of Ravion about a week ago, and I still haven't done it because it's just like, you're still time management and whatnot. Even with you, like we were supposed to have this interview about a week ago, but of course there's
life happens.
Life happens that like, you kind of have to adjust, and but I wasn't going to stop. I still hit you up. I tell like, hey, can we do this next week? I'm so sorry, da, 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 da. hell yeah, let's do it.
For
And
sure.
when now we're here sharing your story and whatnot, and now it's in the books.
Yay! Check it.
So, Anissa, before we go, where can people reach out for you if anybody has questions about flowers, anybody wants to order, or any inquiries or anything like that? How can people follow you?
Yeah, so we have a couple different sources. Obviously, Instagram, if you're looking to preview a lot of things, is a great place. It's at Soul Blossoms. Super simple, SOUL Blossoms. um, email is just hi at Annisa. I'm sorry, that's not right. Hi at soulblossomsbynisa.com. And then the website is soulblossomsbynisa.com.
Okay, cool. Hell
Yeah.
yeah. It's definitely gonna hit you on there. You know what's so funny? So like there's a little bit off tangent. So before I sent the invite for Zoom,
Yeah.
um even Ravion's email, like your email and then her email, like I've had a couple of emails that are just like regular names, like yours is pretty regular. And
Yeah.
I kind of feel childish on my end when I send these invites, because like my email is not like, it's like Alex Eblade, and everybody's like, why is it like that? It's like I was a kid, I never changed it. I was
Yeah.
like 13, like, and I see everybody's email and I was like all professional, like feel like I need to change my email. Be sending these Zoom invites, and then people are like, who the hell is this person?
Yeah. Gmail, it's free. Create that business
I
account.
know, right? West Coast Initiative podcast.
Yes. Yeah.
All
Oh
right,
my God.
Anissa, thank you so much. It was so much.
Thank
It was so much
you.
fun, especially to catch up with you and see how you've been. And I'm so proud of you, honestly. Like
Thank
it's really
you.
inspiring to hear what what you've accomplished and how you're grinding it out. Keep grinding out the NFL season, of course.
Thank you. Yes, yes.
And now that we see football on the weekends, I'm definitely gonna be thinking of you, like, oh, she's working right there. Yeah, that's
Yes.
her right there.
Think of me. Yes. But same for you. Like, so proud of everything you've been able to accomplish. It's so fun to watch you and your beautiful family. Like, I
Thank
love
you.
getting to see all that stuff on social media because I
Yeah.
can't be there, but like, I got so much love for you guys. So
Yeah,
don't
thank you
ever
so
think
much.
that I've forgotten about you guys.
No, and we haven't forgotten about you too, Nisa. And it's so much fun to see us still talking like we haven't even like
Yeah.
seen each other in 10 years, basically.
Yeah.
Because
You guys
yeah,
are
it's been a while.
family.
Yeah,
Yeah.
SBA fam is definitely a different breed, and that's why I like to
For
invite you
sure.
guys.
Yes. Yes. Get us back together.
I know, right? All right, Anissa. Well, thank you guys all for listening. You guys heard it here. Follow Anissa at Soul Blossoms on IG. Also, if you guys have any events, hit her up ahead of time, of course, especially during the NFL season, so that way she can plan ahead of time.
Yeah.
She's definitely busy during this, and she does weddings, but she also does events. Maybe you have a bachelor, bachelorette. Hey, let's go. Flowers right
Whatever you
there.
need.
If you need the stripper to hold the flowers, you got it. Thank you, Anissa, so much.
Thank you.